Damn, son, where'd you find this? Damn, son, where'd you find this?
People don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
One thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who act like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico, they never lied.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late. They cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I am, my ancestors speak. They tell me they're tired as a friend on a slack for a week. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed. Begging the generations remember our story.
Yo. Good morning, good people. How's everybody feeling, man? Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Thursday, Friday, right around the corner. The open mic is right around the corner. We back at it. I'm looking forward to it. We got some new faces popping up. It's going to be a goodie. I got Coach in the building. I got Sydney in the building. I send my prayers out to Zay, man. He fighting that bug. I'm going to keep on sending positive energy out to that brother, man, until he back at 100%. We cooking up this year. We got some stuff unraveling. I can feel the shift slowly but surely. You see the title. This ain't a long clip, so I'm gonna need y'all to put y'all thinking cap on. I'm gonna need you to lock in and focus. 11 seconds is all you need to know, all you need to see. But we're gonna converse. Let me bring everybody up. I see you in the building, brother. Salutes. I'm gonna check those names out too, by the way. There's a few of those I'm looking forward to. What up? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How is everybody? What's the word?
Hello, I'm doing good. Late morning, but at least I got up in time.
Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well, feeling fine, staying warm.
It's a must. It's a must. Let's do this. So, this man proposes to his girlfriend in the McDonald's, and it's her birthday. Just to give you some backstory, she didn't respond the way that he would have liked, and the internet is very torn with this and how it was handled. So I'm gonna let this play real quick, and then we'll go from there.
Where is Chick-fil-A? Get up. Get up. Oh,
So how do I want to say this? What was she wrong in her response? Was that the time and place for that? Her birthday. I have like things that I want to say, but I want to give y'all a chance to tell me what you observed off of your first reaction to seeing the clip. I mean, a lot of people feel like he was cheap. He didn't really respect her enough to do that in a more luxurious way. Some folks are saying it's the thought that count. What's y'all take on that?
I do agree that it's the thought that counts. And if you love somebody genuinely, it really shouldn't matter where you choose to get married. But in that specific circumstance, that definitely seemed to be something he did not think out at all. Like, I think the thing, I'm not put off by the location. I'm put off by the fact that there's a huge crowd. You're standing in line. You're like on one side of the barrier, and you are just like it seemed like a second thought. So I don't know. It seemed just spur of the moment. Like I don't even know how to explain it, but it just did not seem like he put any thought into the thing, into the proposal. So I could definitely see why she would be bothered by that. As my husband would say, that is not the time nor the place. So, I mean, if McDonald's is your special place, do that for your partner, but at least pick a time that makes more sense, because that was crowded. You're standing in line, you're about to order your food, and I don't know, it just seemed off for a proposal. Like he couldn't have waited till they got their food and go outside or something. But and then the other aspect is taking into consideration what you know your partner would like. I imagine by her reaction that is not something she cared about enough to associate with her proposal. So he probably should have done a bit more planning to consider what exactly she would have enjoyed. But I do hope that it didn't like break up the relationship, unless that was like a last straw situation type of deal. But obviously I don't really know the ins and outs of their relationship. So I can't say for sure if, all that aspect. But yeah, for me, not my thing. I can understand why she acted like that. But I mean, if you do it well, maybe McDonald's is your place.
Coach.
Yeah, it wasn't enough context for me, man. I can't speculate anything off of that short content that I just saw. I mean, again, I can't speak to anybody's mindset, but it's not enough context there for me to provide any input on it.
I saw a whole lot there. I ain't gonna hold you. And I could be wrong, but that's why opinions vary. I see both sides. I think that he wanted the spectacle, right? He wanted this grandiose gesture. However, with that being said, there's a disconnect with him and her that I don't know if he's necessarily aware of. That goes beyond just the fact that she told him to get up and then she walked out. He's missing some stuff within that. I don't think anybody is upset with someone going out of their way to say, look, this is what I see here in you. I think you will be a great wife. And nobody in his position is just going to sit up here and pull out a ring if you ain't already have it, or you didn't know exactly when you were going to do it and how you were going to. I think he did the best he could with the situation that he was afforded, right? Because everybody's not spending $40,000-$50,000. Everybody's not about to sit in the baseball stand or be at an NBA game and then have the camera pan over to you, and then, or the man is in the middle of the court or the football field and then he proposes. Everybody's not going to get that. I think he did the best he could with the situation, but I don't think he know her as well as he think he know her at all. And the way she looked at him, it was like she had this disdain on her face. She didn't even care. She didn't show no type of emotion other than anger, embarrassment. She didn't even feel like, oh, I didn't get the impression that, oh, this is the thought that counts. This is the love of my life confessing that he wants me and only me. I didn't get that. I got, you just sit here and you were cheap. You clearly don't realize that I probably don't like you like that. And why the hell would you do this to me on my birthday in front of all of these people in a McDonald's? Like I'm not good enough to have more investment in this. Like you could have took me to the park. You could have took me anywhere other than a McDonald's to do this. But even then, it still probably wasn't going to go the way he expected it to, whether or not he did that. But that's just my opinion. You know, it could have been a number of things. But I say, I had this conversation once before with somebody, and I'm gonna yield the mic. And it was unrequited, where I poured more into them. And I said to her, the reason why you don't respect or have the same level of appreciation for my gesture versus that other person was because you don't look at me the same way that you look at the other person. That's why it's like, oh, it's just him just doing this. It don't really matter. It don't have the same impact, because if it was Chad or Tyrone, you would have been crying. You'd have been ready to risk it all for him. But because it was me, it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna put this on my mantle of all the heads, like you're a hunter collecting from all the victims that you done. It's just that. It's just a prize to you. It don't really have the same value. So I don't really necessarily think she into him like that. I don't. I yield the mic.
You got that from 11 seconds of the clip, man?
I mean, I'm looking at her face. I'm looking at how she could have said anything, bro. She could have said, let's take this out of the store. But what she did was she looked at him, she mean mugged him, told him to get up, and then she walked out on him. Nothing, it was nothing else. There was nothing else. There was no sign of compassion whatsoever. It was just like dismissed. At least if you're gonna decline his offer, do it more respectfully. You sleep with the dude. You don't move or treat your person like that in front of all them people. Even if you don't accept the gesture.
Yeah, that's a great point. I would just say using this as an opportunity to talk about, emotional intelligence and understanding other people's emotions. You put somebody in a situation and they don't know how to react, you can't control their response. So I think she probably did the best thing, which is not to embarrass that young man in front of the crowd, was probably to extract themselves out of that situation and then go handle it. So it just boils down to emotional maturity and security. Everybody doesn't handle situations the same. So, but you got to do what's best for you, and especially if you were thrown into that situation, you didn't ask to be put into it. So, it's definitely formal ways to go about educating yourself on how to propose. Maybe talking to her friends. Finding out some things that she may be interested in. So he probably, I don't know what he did, but there's definitely a way to go about doing it. Educating yourself and finding out the things that they like, so that way you can best plan for the outcome that you're looking for versus what you're not looking for.
I was trying to see if I could find the background to this particular story. So I was looking up like rejected proposal in McDonald's. This definitely happens a lot. I found a lot of different stories from over the years of people who had their partner propose to them either in a McDonald's or with McDonald's, and all those stories I saw ended in the rejection by the woman who was not happy for one of them said it was not the time or place. A couple of them were saying that they were upset that it was not thought out and that he didn't put any of their likes into consideration. One of them was saying that it seemed like completely unplanned and didn't put any work into it. So this definitely happens. And there were some in other countries too, so it's also not an American thing. But I just found it funny how this is a common thread that people just don't like to get proposed to in McDonald's. I also, just for that specific video, I do wonder how long they've been together. This is again why the context of the relationship really does make a difference, because she could have been rejecting his proposal just because she didn't feel they were together long enough, or she just wasn't happy with the relationship as it was. So I, just with how quick her proposal was, I mean, her rejection, I'm inclined to think that she just wasn't happy with the proposal overall. She didn't really like, I don't think it was the venue, just the venue. I think there were other things going on. But again, without knowing, I couldn't find her specific story. I just found other people's. But without knowing, I wouldn't be able to say that it was just because of McDonald's, but there definitely is a history of McDonald's being a not preferred location for wedding proposals. So hint, hint to anyone wanting to marry their spouses. If you're choosing McDonald's, maybe rethink that decision.
I honestly think it's a trend. I think these videos, because this ain't the first one I saw. I think when it all boils down to is these dudes think that this is the person, and it's not. Them women don't really be into them like that. They think they are, but they're not. And that's why it always ends up blowing up in their face. I agree with the emotional, intelligent part. Like, put it this way, I don't care who you are. You opening your legs to this person, you gotta have some type of connection with this person or some level of respect for them. You don't do people like that you are being vulnerable with like that. As far as so two things. Let me see if I can chop this up right. For him to propose to her on her birthday, he had to have been with her for a while. Because that takes thought. At least to me. I could be wrong. Like I said, I just think that the brother just don't have the money to put her in a helicopter and fly her across the city and then do the whole big shebang. I think really what this stuff be coming down to is folks really care more about the celebration versus the actual gesture. Like you want the lavish experience. Because if you really care about a person, it shouldn't really matter where they propose to you at. It shouldn't matter where the gesture come from, as long as it's from the person that you wanted to come from. That's all that should matter. I don't care if I gave you a Lego ring, got it out the bubblegum machine. If you really like that person, you're going to appreciate it. Period. And the fact that we have so many stories like this, I'm just at the point where I'm like, does the gestures really is this really about the gesture itself, or is it about the person?
I think it's both. If it's the right person, you won't really care that much of what they do, as long as they're not like completely making something awful. Like I have honestly the opposite example where my husband has incredibly high standards. When he does things, he wants it to be like super unique. No one's ever done it before. Elaborate, well thought out. Like if he could, he'd hire people to part. Like he's all out. Like that's what he likes to do. And so I never got a marriage proposal because he had such high standards that he never got to the point of actually like executing anything. And so we ended up getting married because we had to, because he joined the military, and we needed me to be able to be dependent status. Especially then by that point we had our son coming. And so we just it was during COVID. So we had to literally get married on a little hill, and it was a really sweet little wedding, but to this day, he's still bothered that he didn't do anything extravagant and stuff like that. It never bothered me. I never I don't really care. I've always been somebody that like if it's meaningful, that's good enough for me. I don't really care. Though I will say I probably wouldn't have been as happy with McDonald's, but that's beside the point. I still would have said yes anyways. But that is to say that sometimes too much is also a bad thing. Like wedding proposals don't have to be this like you get a parade and like a full band and there's a dance routine and like even that can be problematic because I know a lot of women today, because of social media comparison, they're up in the ante with everything, their proposals, their weddings, their baby announcements, everything. Like it has to be bigger and better and more expensive than everyone else's. And I think at a certain point, when you have it so elaborate that if something goes wrong, you're going to like get upset. Or you don't even get to do it because you have this like lofty idea in your mind. It takes away from the original joy of that moment. So I think it's also worth considering, like, are we putting too much on ourselves? Like, are we expecting too much? And that if it's not a grand gesture, we're gonna turn it down and be like, no, that's not good enough for me. I don't think a lot of women are like that, where if it's not to their standards, they're going to say no. But I think we are getting to a point in society where we're kind of expected. If it's not a huge, grand, unique gesture, then it didn't mean anything, which is not true. You can make things very simple but meaningful without all this excessive stuff. But yeah, that's all to say that we should also value the things that are small and simple, because sometimes they have even more meaning than something that's like huge and a big blowout.
I lost my train of thought. What was I about to say? I'm not with the McDonald's thing. I'm like, I get being mad about that. It doesn't really seem thought out. It does come off lazy. Even if you don't have the type of money that Deion Sanders got, you can still find creative ways to do the same job, right? And I agree. We have gotten to a point where it's either grandiose or it's nothing at all. But shout outs to the folks that still like the smaller things. Like, it doesn't really make a difference what stage or platform is on. You can still enjoy each other's company without it being over the top or super expensive. So let me ask you a question, Coach, because you've been sitting back. I want to know, man, do you agree? Do you think that we're getting to a place to where gestures from the heart don't have the same value if it's not in a big venue?
Man, it doesn't have anything to do with the venue. People just don't respect that shit no more, man. It's all about entitlement. And then people living vicariously through other people's lives on social media. So everybody is presenting this image of just being happy. And like you said, it's about the celebration. Look at things as simple as these gender reveals. You know, they be such theatrics and things that go on within the gender reveals, but people aren't putting the same interest, you know, into necessarily how to be a better parent, right? So it's more or less, you know, like you said, the theatrics of it. And then when you're trying to express something from the heart, they can't post what you express from the heart on social media. You know what I mean? It doesn't have that same effect. It doesn't have that same ripple effect that goes out there that's going to get those likes and those follows. So that's where the disconnect comes into play at. Are you living for real life or are you living for the gram or the internet? And so until you can separate those things, you're going to continue to see what you have.
So why are we seeing so many of these blooper proposals? Are we just trying to embarrass these men? Is it something that we missing here? Like, what's going on? Why are you recording these things and then posting them on social media? Just like the failures.
Views.
Go ahead. You said it. Yeah, views. You said it, man. It's a new thing, shaming and embarrassing men out there. You're getting the upper hand. You're showing or establishing dominance, right? Man, we talked about this whole role reversal, and not all women, but there seems to be a thing where the women want to be the dominant or the man in the relationship, and to get the upper hand is who's insulting who first and who's getting the upper hand and the likes. And then, like Sid just said, the views.
People also love to insult women for I just saw one of the videos when I was trying to figure out who these people were. They were referring to as Bridezilla because she rejected the proposal as it was done. So people love to hate on other people and put no thought into the circumstances. They just automatically are like, oh my God, look at this awful person. Look how much she hates her partner. Look how much she's terrible. And they attribute all these characteristics to her from one specific moment. And that's just how the internet is. Like, we eat that up, and that drives the algorithms. That type of hatred, that type of drama, that emotional experience. Like, we don't really care about the repercussions. We don't care about the effect it had on the people. We just think, oh my gosh, look at that crazy story. Maybe a small part of it is like, oh, I'm glad that's not me. But then we just spread it around because we found it amusing. So we figure everyone else will too. That's why like rage bait is so successful, because we love to be mad, we love to be enraged, and we love to enjoy other people's reactions of anger and rage.
Another thing that bothers me alongside that is, how do you not know your partner? You've been around them long enough to at least know what they like and don't. You should. How could you not read the room? You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes we force things that's not there. And I don't know if that's what this was, but I'm not taking it off the table. There's no way in the world he'd been with her for however long and he didn't know that she was going to respond like that. Or you're just telling me that you live in your own little bubble, and this whole relationship is you seeing it one way, she's seeing it in an entirely different way. And then what happened was you thought, and I've seen this happen a lot too, where you will do or perform certain acts for the other person, and then when you don't get the response or the reactions that you like, you're dumbfounded by it. You shouldn't be, really, because you should already know this is what's going on, unless you're just ignoring the other person.
Yeah, I don't know about that, man. I have to call bullshit on that. So many people say things nowadays and do something completely different within 10 to 15 minutes later. So you can't know anybody. Everybody nowadays, they're so fickle. They change with the wind. So you can't sit here and say you should know somebody, because again, people are putting on acts and shows their characters. They're turning to a whole nother person when they get in front of these screens. So you have conversations with people, and not even in front of the screen. It's just so many people think it's, and there's nothing wrong with it, but they think it's okay to just change their minds after you had a conversation or after you talked about something, which is completely fine with that. But you got to go back to have the conversation with the person that you had that conversation with and explain that things have changed. You may not think the same way again. You may not feel the same way about the conversation that you had. People aren't doing that. And this is the feedback that you get from the field. A lot of people will just change their mind, and then you're just supposed to be okay with it. Well, I can change my mind if I want to. What's the problem with that? And that goes back to the accountability piece. Again, it goes back to people just, the world we live in, either get down or lay down, get down with what I'm saying, or I'll cut you off and I'll move on to the next person. Because the illusion of there's so many people out there that's available to them on social media. They may like and engage with you on your platforms, and that does not necessarily mean that they're available to you emotionally or physically. That's just occupying the space. So it's getting hard to take people for what their words these days. So it's not just as easy as knowing somebody.
Yeah, I think there's definitely two sides to this because one, just as you said, people are so fickle. Like, I don't even think a lot of people even truly know themselves these days. We don't give ourselves enough time to process anything, really. Like, literally, people are working, then they come home, then they go on social media, then they make themselves food, then they go on social media, then they go to bed, then they wake up, they go to work. And like, if you live a life like that, you don't give yourself a chance to understand who you are, what you like, what your personality is. And most people do not do any work to understand their underlying emotions, where it comes from, why they're having them. And all of those are deeply important in understanding yourself. And I keep forgetting what his name is, but there's a philosopher that I really like. And he says there's value in darkness and quiet because it allows everything underneath to come forward. For you to understand your history, how it affects you, the people around you, how that affects you, your senses and how that affects you. Because there's so much stimuli coming in that has an impact on our behavior, how we treat other people, how we think, how we feel, how we behave. And we don't put any effort into any of that. And so a lot of people are kind of traveling through the world blind, kind of just reacting to everything rather than existing. And so on one end, we have people that don't know themselves, so they can't put forward who they are because they don't know what that is. They're just kind of jumping from one thing to the next. Whatever catches their eye is what they're interested in. And as soon as they lose interest, they jump to the next thing. And so it can be hard as a partner to understand how to appease them because you don't know what they like. They're just going to be on to the next thing. And you're going to be like, well, you liked this thing last week. Well, I don't like that now. Okay. Well, what do you like then? I don't know. Okay. Well, I don't know what to do with that. But then on the other end too, a lot of people, I mean, I've experienced this myself. I remember in my early 20s, I had a breakthrough where I realized not everyone thinks the same as me. I remember in my teens and into my early 20s, I literally thought that everyone really had the same thought process as me, that everyone had a similar trajectory, that people were interested in the same things that I was, and that I'm very much into like investigating the world, understanding myself, doing like psychological work, stuff like that. And I assumed that that was just what all humans did. And I remember through philosophy, reading content and understanding psychology, I realized that not a lot of people are actually like that. And it was at the time mind-boggling. I was like, wait, I don't exist like everyone else. And I think some people are still stuck in that mindset where they think that everyone thinks the same as them. where they believe that, well, this is what I believe, so why don't you? You're weird. Like, what's wrong with you? And if you're in a relationship with that type of mindset, that can be, I don't want to say harmful, because I don't know if it necessarily is always harmful, I guess. But it's going to affect the way that you interact with your partner, because if you assume that they think the way that you do, that they feel the same way that you do, and that they're going to react the same way that you do, you're going to be completely blindsided when it doesn't actually go the way that you expected, and they don't have the response that you wanted, and that they're mad because you did something inconsiderate when you thought, well, like, well, that was perfect. That was for us. And I notice that especially with relationships that are very immature, and are progressing prematurely, where especially with men, I know it happens with women, but I notice it a lot more with men, where they have this like illusion in their head that like the relationship is so much bigger than it actually is. And they're like, this is my woman. She's going to be my wife. We're going to have babies. And the woman's just like, yeah, that's fun, I guess, but I'm good. And I think that's, some men reside in that space where they like have such big feelings for these women, and the woman is with him as a place marker, basically, like as a bookmark, and they're not actually engaged in the relationship. They're more so sticking around because it's good for now. And again, it's not all the cases, because there's definitely circumstances where it's the other way around, where the woman is all in and the man's just kind of like, yeah, I don't want kids. I don't want a family. I don't want to do this. But I noticed it. I've noticed it a lot with men, but it's probably the content that is put out there, because as we've said, like, people love to bash men, especially ones that are like, as we call it, simping. But anyway, this is all to kind of, we don't know ourselves. We don't know each other. We don't know what's going on, because most people are not honest with each other. Most people are not having those hard conversations and like putting it all out there, how they actually feel. And they're just like, I think a lot of people too are in that expectation that, well, I just have to ignore the feelings and then they'll go away. And that is not how that works. You have to process your emotions to get through them. You can't, ignoring them only makes them stay hidden and come up when in inopportune times, and then you don't know what to do with them. So for any person that wants to process their emotions, you have to think about it. You have to face them. You have to talk about it. But a lot of people don't want to do that work. So I think there's just a lot of people that are living in ignorant bliss, if you want to call it that. I wouldn't even call it bliss. I just call it like, you're just ignorant in general. But they have no idea what's happening inside their head, inside their partner's head. And then you have situations like this where it all comes to a head when you have to make that big decision and realize you both aren't actually on the same page.
And the bleep, 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 bleep. That's all, folks. I need to find that sound bite. That's all this boiled down to. Pursue your dreams and your goals. Stop worrying about dating so much. I'm not saying give up on it, but your priorities should come first. Nobody wants unrequited affection. Period. How do you minimize that? Do what you gotta do for yourself. That way, you know that whoever is coming into your life, they're either going to add on to it or they're going to show that they're not really there for the intentions that you expect, and you can carry on with the rest of your day without being too invested. We pour way too much into other people instead of ourselves, and you get lost in living through them that you don't live for yourself. You can have or make 20, 30, $40,000 a year and still be creative. You don't have to have a lot of money to make someone feel special. You don't have to be at the top of a Ferris wheel. I said Ferris. You don't have to be at the top of a Ferris wheel and then fireworks go off and then the credits roll at the end of it and then the scene and y'all walk off into let's stop with that. Be unique, be different. You can't afford to go to an expensive restaurant, don't do it. Matter of fact, let's do this. Let's start having more conversations after you get comfortable. Because at the beginning, everything is cool. You expect things to remain that way, but you forget that there's another person here. And just because you might still be the same way that you was going into it, that doesn't mean that they are. I'm not saying have a seminar, but y'all need to continuously be trying to figure out, all right, are we still moving in the same direction? I got a question. This is one of your expertise. So I'm gonna ask you, Coach. You, and I'm not saying you specifically, but two people are dating. One person seems to still be on the same path that they were on. The other person has made some adjustments and some changes. Evolution. It's inevitable. We're all gonna do it. How do you maintain that relationship that you both had at the beginning of it later on without pretending or acting as if, oh, they're still happy when you really don't know, or vice versa?
I mean, that's a great question, man. The only way around it or through it is to communicate honesty, man. I mean, everything we keep talking about every day is about people lying, not being true to themselves and being true to other people. You can have the best of intentions, man. Like you just said, you can try all you want, but if that individual doesn't want to put the work in themselves, then there's nothing you can do, man. You can't make somebody practice. You can't make somebody train. You can't make somebody put the work in to be a better version of themselves. And at the same time, they may be happy with themselves. So that's something that you have to come to grips with as well, because you may see a future for somebody, and maybe the future may be the present for them. All they ever wanted was to be right there in the present. They didn't want anything more. And if you want more without having that conversation, then that's where the friction may come into play. But if you have that conversation, and if both of you are honest enough and willing to tell each other the hard things, hey, I'm content, I'm happy, I'm complacent with where I am. I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to put the extra work in. Then that's when you have to come to grips and say, okay, do you want to still be in this relationship, or do you want to has this relationship run its course, right? And those are the type of things you should hope that you got somebody that's been in a relationship 30, 40 years, and it's a relic. It's not necessarily as much anymore to be able to have those conversations. You know, people used to get groomed and mentored by their grandparents or just, other people, maybe out in the economy, whatever it is that you do, whether you go to church, you play bingo, whatever it is that you try to seek guidance from elders. You should try to have a conversation with them and just not necessarily ask what went right, but when it didn't go right, what did you do to rectify it, and what gave you the strength to stay within the relationship and continue to build? So those type of things you should be asking, because everybody wants to go talk to the people that they perceive to be successful, they perceive to be happy. Talk to the people that's been through some stuff. Because again, it's all about problem solving. If you're not learning problem solving, you're learning to go to Gronk, Google, Alexa, and everybody else and ask for the answer. So, and people are doing that now. Hey, this is what's going on in my relationship. What should I do? People are getting relationship advice from Alexa, Chat GPT, and those type of things. So it's kind of hard to compete with somebody who doesn't want to put the work in, but they just want the end result.
What you said made me think of this video that I saw recently. He just got arrested for 70, or he still has to go to court, but he's facing the potential of up to 70 years in prison because he stalked at least 11 women, thinking that they were going to be his wife. He used Chat GPT to basically ask them, like, is this my wife? What's my future going to be? How can I get these women to love me? What am I doing wrong in the relationship? And he was basically using Chat GPT to bolster his ego and his fantasies in his head, and convince him that these relationships were legitimate when he literally saw them online once and never saw them in person. But he would start showing up at their house and being like, oh, well, we're going to be together. I'm here for you. And would show up at their workplace, would show up with where their friends were, where they said they were going to be hanging out with their friends and all this stuff. And it was all egged on by Chat GPT. So be very, very cautious about using Chat GPT, because what people do not understand is Chat GPT is not an intelligent human with emotions, with the ability to kind of suss out different situations. It does not understand nuance. It is crowdsourced data. It is gathered from the internet with an algorithm. And it's going to be giving you answers based on your input, based on your responses to those answers. And so it's eventually going to start feeding you what you want to see. And so if you're trying to ask a computer for advice on a relationship that does not know your spouse, that does not know who you are, that does not know what you like, what you don't like, what fights you got in, what your living situation is, who your friends are, it's not going to give you any answers that will actually genuinely help you. Just like you said, we need to start going back to times where we sought out people that actually know us, that had that advice, and who could actually look at the situation from a human perspective and give you input that isn't just computer based, computer derived. We need to, like, if you really have genuine questions about your relationship, even before you propose, talk to her parents, talk to your parents, talk to her friends. You don't have to tell them that you're planning on proposing, even though that probably would be a good idea, especially the parents. Ask them for permission, because that's still, like, courtesy is not dead, or shouldn't be dead. But the understanding of, how can I make this the best for this person? How can I make this person happy with both this proposal, but also into the future? Like, is this something that you know that they want? Because I know I've heard of many stories too, where people propose regardless of the venue, they get rejected because the person was like, yeah, I never wanted to get married. I never wanted to have kids. Like, I just was fine dating. So having advice from actual people that actually know you is going to do so much good for you, and avoid the pitfalls that fake advice from fake online therapists and ChatGPT and a Google search. Like searching the internet is beneficial when it's supplemental information, but it should not be the only information that you're getting. You should seek out advice from, again, people that know you and people who are actually experts in whatever thing you're trying to get help with. Though I would say for love advice, talk to people that know you and talk to people that know what love is, that have been in a relationship for 40, 50 years and know what they're talking about, as opposed to like that friend that you have that is on their fourth marriage and none of them have lasted longer than 5 years. So, I mean, they can give pretty good advice too of what not to do, but you know, yeah. Again, summary, don't use ChatGPT for advice. I will always reiterate that because it's literally making people crazy. It's literally making people make some really stupid decisions. ChatGPT is not an all-seeing God. It is an algorithm made up of answers from you and from the internet. And we all know how the internet is.
And that being said, man, I hope y'all got something out of it. Stop wasting each other's time. Figure out what you want to do. And take that load off you. Shout outs to everybody in the building. Appreciate y'all for hanging out. See you guys later on. Enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoons, evenings. We out. Doing solid before you go.
Push the goddamn button.
Peace.
Oh, good morning, guys.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I am, my ancestors speak. They tell me they're tired of the friend on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed. Begging